right, welcome into another edition of Off Season of Off the Leash. I'm Ashley Holder. That's Leah Doherty and OBR's Fred Greetham. Mark Schwab has the beautiful day off. He's out enjoying the somewhat sun, but more snow, probably sledding, having some good times with the kids. But let's just get straight into it. We are not sure still who is going to be the new head coach for the Cleveland Browns. It seems like it's down to about 3 finalists right now. 2 of them are 59 years old, but that is 59 years young. Very young. Still a lot more to go in the game. And that is Todd Monken coming from the Baltimore Ravens, who is the OC there. And then you have Jim Schwartz, who's already here as the defensive coordinator for the Browns. And then the young guy, 35-year-old Nate Shieldhouse, that is in the mix for, he's a passing coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams, who just lost in the NFC Championship game, which was an incredible game, by the way. Fred, where do you see this team leaning towards right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to change what I've said and written, is that I think Jim Schwartz will be the head coach. But because they came back from L.A. and didn't write this morning after they met all the requirements, name him, leads me to believe there's still some they haven't all collaborated and are on the same page. I think they were trying to piece things together, whether it be Schwartz, the defensive coordinator, with Shieldhouse as the head coach, or vice versa. And there could be a hang-up there. I've also been told Todd Monken's still in place. So one of those three. Shieldhouse, you know, the Bills kind of threw a little wrench into the system when they interviewed Grant Udinski after the Browns did. Nobody had talked to him. He pulled out then, got a pay raise to stay with Jacksonville. Shieldhouse, during the Browns interview, got a call or a request to interview with the Bills last night. The Browns then came home, and he interviewed with them. They hired their coach today. So the Bills hired both the guys, 2 of the guys, the young offensive guys. So I think that they're still trying to get it to work between Schwartz and Shieldhouse. I don't know which would be the head coach, but I think Shieldhouse has other options. And whether he looks at the Browns, unless he's the head coach, might not be the best option for him. So I think that's what the holdup is right now. But ultimately, I think it'd be Jim Schwartz will be the head coach. Obviously, if Shieldhouse turns it down. But if they have the choice of both, I think that they would go with Shieldhouse and try to have Schwartz as the defensive coordinator, because they want the up-and-coming, fixing the offensive side.
And that's what we've talked about. You've mentioned, Fred, is how do we piece this puzzle together? If Jim Schwartz isn't the head coach, is he open to sticking around? Is the new head coach open to having him stick around? Then you have to think about, you have to replace Tommy Rees, place an offensive coordinator as well. I think a lot of people have been wondering if this was always going to be Jim Schwartz. Why is it taking so dang long? But also, they've done their homework. They're making their guys do homework as well. And so I think they've really cast a wide net, which we figured they probably would. And then maybe if they do promote Jim Schwartz, then that due diligence that they did is going to help them when they come in and when they come in and bring in 2 coordinators. I'm interested too. Have you seen this many candidates drop out of Browns coaching searches? Is that normal?
I think once they get a sense they're not going to get the job, they don't want it to look that way. I mean, Jesse Minter knew he was going to the Ravens, so he said there's no sense in interviewing. And Mike McDaniel, I think he sensed he wasn't going to get the head coaching job. And he's saying to the Browns, I'd rather be the offensive coordinator with the Chargers than head coach or offensive coordinator with the Browns, if that's what they were looking at. They don't have an offensive, system to sell other than they got a Pro Bowl quarterback now, by the way. But as far as
don't forget about that.
All things being equal, I do think that it's more appealing to the young, first-time chance to be a head coach. But with Schwartz, 89, I've talked to a lot of former coaches that have been head coaches and said they had no idea. 80-90% of the job is not coaching. It's dealing with off-field things and so forth. And I think that's a lot to ask of a 30-year-old or a 35-year-old, especially never been in that position or even called plays, to put together a staff when they don't even have the network. And that's where I just think a guy like a Schwartz has a network of options. But if the Browns are trying to pair these together, it might not work because for the reason they want their own people, and they should have their own people.
Well, BetOnline.ag has Jim Schwartz as a favorite to get the job at 78% right now. And this would be Schwartz's second opportunity to be a head coach. But is it crazy to think that, why not just bring them all in? Could Todd Monken be the head coach? Keep, Schwartz as the DC? Maybe bring Shieldhouse as the OC? I know it sounds crazy, but I mean, the Browns, you've been covering them for a long time. I imagine there's a lot of crazier things that you've seen that they've done.
They would have had to already know that, I think, because I do know they really want Jim Schwartz in some role. And they would have had to went over this. Would you take the job if we give it to someone else? If it was me, it'd be hard to do that. I'm just looking at that. I'm like, you're passing me over. You think I'm good enough to run the defense but not do the whole thing? But I would be surprised. But that very well could be.
That's what's interesting is I wonder what's taking so long for an announcement. If you have a good feeling that they know who they want, then what are the snags we're working out at this point?
I have been told that Shieldhouse is a guy that kind of likes to take his time, and maybe the NFL wants you to rush into something. And it could have been when he told him last night, I'm going to sleep on it, I'm going to pray about it, and we'll talk again today. That could be what it is. I don't know. But again, I don't think they made an offer to him last night. I don't think they're offering anybody till they're going to say yes, because it couldn't be worse than to offer and then they turn them down, and then it's worse all the way around. So I really can't answer the question. We don't know, but I do think that it will be imminently coming out.
Well, 7 other teams have been able to find a head coach and be able to do it pretty
quickly. They went
quickly.
right at him.
I mean,
this is who they wanted.
Everyone.
I mean, I don't know if this place is a hot commodity or just not.
It's not as desirable.
The completely other side of a hot commodity.
It's not as desirable. I mean, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens is a pretty desirable. Even the Steelers with having Aaron Rodgers possibly coming back with his old coach. And then you got Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo kind of did the same thing. If they all along were going to get Brady, they went all around, talked to everybody else, and then promoted him from offensive coordinator. So,
well, one thing I will say that the guys have talked a lot about is everyone rants about Jim Schwartz. So it just makes sense that is the thing to do, is to go ahead and promote him. And if you want to keep him so bad, then what is the problem of just going ahead and promoting him? Because if you are saying that they're holding off because of Shieldhouse, then how much do you truly want Schwartz in that position?
Exactly. That's why I expected it early when they got back today. But I don't know what's going on behind them walls. But it just makes sense that you get this done and move on, because you went all the way around the horn and you're going to end up in the same place. But why create ill will with Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett and Grant Delpit and all these guys that campaigned for him to run the show? I get so much. Everybody wants the young, hot guy, but it's not like he's not a good coach. He's for the last 3 years overall, they're the number one defense. I think he can do some things or knows what to do on the offensive side.
Or at least would know, like, this is who I want to bring in.
Exactly.
And maybe that's the question, too, is maybe this ownership is saying, okay, we promote you, but we want Shieldhouse to be on your staff, or this is what we want. And maybe Jim is saying, well, okay, I want to pick and build my own staff, too, and maybe there's a little disagreement there. But the one thing that we've talked about with Jim Schwartz that this building badly needs, yes, I need offense and stuff like that, but like they need accountability, they need discipline. Like that is what they need more than anything, is someone that can corral all of the chaos that happens out there. And like he's a very no nonsense, I'm gonna come in and things are gonna be in order.
It's exactly what I wrote the other day, is that I watched Greg Williams, say what you will about him, took the same team Hugh Jackson had. They were 1-7. They went 5-3. It was night and day. I was out there on Friday or whenever it was, and all kinds of music and all kinds of nonsense going on. Monday, no, and I'm not saying music, but it was night and day different. And they were all business. And I think you've been out the press conference. Jim Schwartz deferred everything to Kevin Stefanski. I do not think he's going to run things the same way that Kevin Stefanski will. When somebody has a false start or jump, they're on the bench, or something's accountable. It's not, well, we trust our guys, or you keep dropping passes. Okay, you're going to sit on the bench a while. You know, I just think, yeah, exactly. Accountability, I think, will be there.
And is a 35-year-old going to be able to hold all of these young guys accountable? Well, there is one person that does not think that, and a lot of people respect the opinions of Joe Thomas, and he gave 3 reasons today of why going young is not the way to go.
Number 3, adversity. Everyone looks great when they're winning, but when you lose a few in a row, the belief cracks, they're going to start. The noise gets real. Real leadership is going to be tested, and that doesn't matter if you're a young coach or an old coach. Number 2 is the leadership. As a head coach, your biggest job is coaching the coaches. It's managing the media and the owner. And if you haven't had that experience coaching men that have probably been coaching in the NFL since maybe before you were born, how are you going to do that? That's a big unknown. And number 1, and this one's a big one, it's the staff. Head coaches, they're not going to win games. Staffs, they directly coach the players that win the games. Coaches get hired through relationships. It's a networking business. You're going to get hired because you know somebody that you've worked with that now got a head coaching job. And if you're a young head coach and you haven't really been around the game that long, you've got a thin network. And that limits who you can hire because there's not as many people that you know that you've worked with that trust you, that want to put their life and their family and their livelihood on the line coming to work with you in whatever situation you're going to be in, because you know what? They don't have to tell their wife in a year or a year and a half that, honey, we got to move again because we got fired because I believed in this young guy. And you know what? He just didn't have what it takes.
So it sounds like Fred and Joe Thomas might be the same person, because that's exactly what you were saying, Fred.
Well, I've been around this, and that's what I said. The Shield Houses and them might be great X and O's, but it's not fair to be thrown into something. I'll say this. If you really are playing for next year's draft to be the number 1 pick in the draft, and I'm not being facetious, hire a guy that's never done it before and just take your lumps. And then next year you draft Arch Manning or whoever you want, and you got your offensive guru in place. He's got experience. But if you think you can win now, somebody that can put together a staff, you know, here, who's he going to hire? He's underneath the offensive coordinator. So who's under him? You know, guys that are, you know, I'm not saying they're not up-and-coming coaches. So I get what they want to do, but you gotta look at the whole picture of the staff and putting together who's going to coach. I mean, Stefanski had a really good staff here, and they respected and brought. I think Schwartz would be able to do the same thing.
Let me ask this question. Would it be any different of how they brought Mike Tomlin in at such a young age when he took over the Pittsburgh Steelers, which was a very notable team at that point when he took over in 2007? I will say at that point he was only a defensive coordinator for the Vikings for 1 season, but there was still some of that, you know, experience, but no head coach experience. So he was in his early 30s at that point as well, younger than Shieldhouse.
Well, he doesn't have to be the head coach. You know, a lot of cases there. But as far as what I'm saying is even calling plays and coordinating. Sean McVay, everybody talks to him. He was only 30, but he was the offensive coordinator calling plays for 3 years with Washington before he got the head coaching job. So it's a lot to expect out of a guy, you know, to just show up and have everything ready to go from day one, you know. So, you know, I can see why they're impressed with him, but I'm just saying that it seems safer with Jim Schwartz. If you think you can win now.
Well, hopefully we'll get some answers soon on what the Browns plan on doing with this coaching search, because it's just been a hot mess. But one thing we do know is there is a new Pro Bowler in town, and we are going to talk about it right after this break on Off the Leash.
talk about the Browns not being a desirable head coaching spot when they have a Pro Bowl quarterback, Shador Sanders.
Heck yeah, they do.
5th rounder. I think he's the last 5th rounder to be a Pro Bowler since Puka Nacua, right? Wasn't that a stat I heard?
Well, let me tell you these stats. Let me add to
Ashley's going to drop her stats.
1,400 yards, 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 5 games. He is a Pro Bowl.
And look, this could
shout out to Shador Sanders.
We could have a whole podcast episode on the downfall of the Pro Bowl and why it's not the same as it used to be and why every single person drops out. I mean, I remember, like, even when I was growing up, my husband and I were talking about it last night, too. Like, he was like, you were growing up, like, you were, like, so excited to watch it. And guys went out there and competed. And it was, if you're an athlete, it's another opportunity to get out there and compete. So why would you not? And we went back and forth on it. I was like, I wouldn't put if it's a game that's not important and no one seems to care about it, I'm not going to risk and put my body out there. And he was like, Michael Jordan would never. And I said, okay, Matt, we're going to have to take a pause on this. True, false question, since Mark Schwab is not here. We kind of have 2 options. It could be pick your poison, because Fred had tossed out a good one of, will Shador Sanders be a Pro Bowl quarterback again? True, false. Mark Schwab had said Shador Sanders is the worst Pro Bowl quarterback ever. True, false. I'd pick your poison. Which one you want to answer?
Whew. I'm going to let you go first.
I will
I'm
say,
scared.
as far as the worst,
Yeah.
I will say false.
Okay.
No disrespect, but Tyler Snoop Huntley went to the Pro Bowl when he was backed in. He subbed for Lamar Jackson and he didn't have great numbers, but kind of in the same thing as a replacement. I mean, you go down the list, it was supposed to be the starter was Josh Allen. He's got a foot injury. Justin Herbert's got a broken hand. The third guy's Drake May. He's in the Super Bowl. And then you have Patrick Mahomes with the ACL, and you got Daniel Jones with a ruptured Achilles, and you got Bo Nix, who just broke his ankle. I mean, there's like 8 or 9. So, and the rest of them, I'm sure, said, no thanks, you know. And so, hey, good for him. It counts. 20 years from now, I'll say he was a Pro Bowl. Bernie Kosar went to the Pro Bowl 1 time, and we still talk about him as, well, he's the best quarterback the Browns have had since they've come back. I mean, I still put him better than Baker Mayfield. I'd say Mayfield was the second best the Browns have had. But Bernie, 1 time.
Right.
The Browns haven't had a quarterback go to this since Derek Anderson in 2007. So just there, it's going to create excitement. I'll tell you this. I bet you, who wouldn't think he might really be a good flag football 7-on-7 quarterback where they can't rush him and he can take his time. Just
he loves to take his time in the
come out of
pocket.
that game saying he's the best quarter.
Well,
Completely.
so
It's
right.
not even
Best
football
quarterback ever.
right
You're
now.
so right.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to stay away from Mark's question. I'm going to answer
Okay. Fred's
question. And I'm going to say I never can answer the question just
It's black
head
and
on.
white, Ashley.
It is, but it's not black
Waffle.
and white, because this is my thing. He can be a Pro Bowl quarterback again if they allow him to play here. He's not going to be one if they don't allow him to play. But if he plays, yes, I do think he could possibly get there. But you make a very good point that when you go down the list of how many quarterbacks are out, it makes sense. And they don't really have those big names. So while I don't think this is a numbers thing, I think this is more of like, we need a celeb to make this thing pop. And at the end of the day, whether people want to say it or not, Shador brings eyes.
He's gonna get eyes,
He
yeah.
brings numbers. He brings fans. And it just is what it is. Whether you hate the guy, you love him, 10 interceptions, hey, people are going to pay that money to watch him throw the ball into somebody else's hands. It just is what it is, whether it's the Browns or somebody else's.
And if anything, it's good experience for him. It's more experience. It's obviously not the same as an NFL
It's
game.
a fashion show or something for him.
But it's an experience to go out and have as a young rookie. It's a cool experience. I would say true. I do think he'll be a Pro Bowl quarterback again, but it's also like with a caveat of, well, yeah, like 9 guys couldn't do it before him. So, like, yeah, odds are he probably could be a Pro Bowl quarterback again because he could run it back with the Browns next year, and you could have all these other guys that can't play, and then, like, he's a Pro Bowl again. And that's also, like, that's no fault of his own. Like, he was a rookie quarterback, and he did what a fifth rounder, what we thought would do. And so it's not just dogging on him for the sake of it. But yeah, he gets to be a Pro Bowler. So
Feather in his
Kevin,
cap.
you said Kevin Stefanski's first one, right? Isn't that what we talked about?
The first Pro Bowl quarterback under Kevin Stefanski. Shout out to him. He must be very proud of his guy. I would imagine that he's jumping for joy for sure. Speaking of Kevin Stefanski, let's talk about him and what he had to say in Atlanta on the other side of the break. We're going to take a really quick break. We'll be right back on Off the Leash. All right, welcome back to Off the Leash. Kevin Stefanski officially announced as the head coach and introduced as the head coach to the Atlanta Falcons fan base today. He was plummeted with a lot of questions, and, he said this is where he wanted to be, and I found that to be very interesting. But let's listen to a little bit of the presser today in Atlanta.
I'll sit up here and I will take the blame when it's appropriate. I'm not taking the blame for the weather out there right now, okay? I had nothing to do with that. I did not bring that with me, so I want to clear that up on the front end of this. But seriously, the fans in this town, so passionate. It's real. I've felt it. I've met them out there. I cannot wait to be in this building and feeling this place shaking. This is a special place. Atlanta's where I wanted to be. I wanted to be here. There was a pull to this job and a pull to this city, and it really started right at the top. It's Arthur Blank and Matt Ryan.
With Cleveland and coming here, what do you think is going to be different this time around, and what did you specifically learn from your time head coaching there?
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. I think, like Matt said, this career in this business, it's sometimes you have to navigate tough times, and I certainly have seen my tough times, and I feel like I'm a better coach on the other side of that. And I, like Matt mentioned, I want to learn from all those things. Really excited about where I am, but I wouldn't change anything about the past.
Accountability is a word that has been used a lot through this interview process. I'm curious, from your time in Cleveland as a head coach, how you feel you best demonstrate accountability with not only your coaches, but your players as well.
Thanks, Bailey. I would tell you that when it comes to accountability or culture, it's really my job to enable a program and put up a guardrails, if you will, with the program. But the best accountability comes from the locker room. And I believe it is player-driven. And I think Matt's been a part of that in his NFL career in these locker rooms. So I will certainly put a structure together for our players, for our coaches to hold each other accountable. But at the end of the day, a player-driven culture is what we will have.
Curious about how you're going to structure your offensive staff. Will you be calling plays? And also, can you speak to Tommy Reese and working with him the last couple of years?
Sure. Thanks, Tori. Tommy will call plays. That's a setup that I'm very, very comfortable with. I think he's an outstanding football coach. He's young, but I don't know if you always measure experience just in years. I think he's had unbelievable experiences in his young career. He's somebody that I trust. We see the game similarly, but we also push each other because we're different. So Tommy will head up that offensive staff. I'm excited about some of the people we've been able to bring in already to this group, and I have the utmost confidence in Tommy.
All right, so at least the Atlanta Falcons media gets to know that Tommy Rees will be calling the plays. They don't have to wonder every Sunday, is that going to be the case? They know that he is the one that is going to be doing that. But, I mean, Fred, he said this is where he wants to be, and it's a new start for him.
I was really a little surprised that he is giving up play calling right away. That was his forte with the Vikings. One of the reasons the Browns hired him, and I think the last 2 years here was more, felt like had to make a change.
Yeah, you know you're not going to get a big soundbite out of Kevin Stefanski, but at least he gave you information that we know Tommy Rees is going to be calling plays, so I wish them all the best.
And how about this? He even cracked a joke when he started things off.
Of
We didn't even get any jokes here from Kevin Stefanski. What the heck, man? They're already getting more than we got. But all right, so we're going to wrap this episode up. Hopefully by the next episode, the Cleveland Browns will have a new head coach, and we will be able to talk more about that. If not, there is some serious problems going on if we do not have a head coach by this next episode. But make sure you check this episode out wherever you get your podcast, and make sure you stream it on the 19 News Plus app. For Ashley Holder, Leah Doherty, and OBR's Fred Greetham.
We miss you,
Fred and
Mark.
Mark are the same person
Whoever
for me
that
at this
guy is.
point.
We miss
this
you, Mark.
This is Off the Leash. We'll check you out next episode.